Friends and loved ones, welcome back to another Marvel Rivals guide. Today, we're going to be talking about the one and only, in my opinion, probably the best tank in the game, Magneto. With the default settings, Magneto's shift is actually a toggle, meaning when you press it, it goes on until you press it again. Me personally, I don't really like that. So, we're going to go into settings, keyboard, and once we get to here, it usually says change hero or whatever, pick Magneto. You scroll all the way down to hero. This setting right here, hold the key barrier active, enable that. What this does is, instead of having you press the shift button and have your shield be up the entire time, now if you press it, it just goes away. I prefer that much more and allows you to actually decide when the shield goes up and when to put it down. As you see in the right, Magneto's shield is not a permanent shield, meaning you have to kind of be strategic with how you want to keep it up. If, for example, someone's ulting, let's say Iron Man's ulting above you want to put your shield up, absorb the ult, put it away. Instead of having to keep the shield up the entire time and wasting the meter. Obviously, I didn't really do a good job of it because it went all the way down, but there are many opportunities that allow you to decide when you want the shield up and when you want to put it down. All right, now let's jump into Magneto's combos. Magneto, in my opinion, he only has one real combo, and that is primary, right click, primary. Very, very simple combo. Let's show it here. So that combo does a good amount of damage. I believe it can do 250 if you do the combo correctly and have the full 3 meters charged. Let's talk about his primary. As you could probably tell, Magneto has a good amount of range. Not a whole lot though. But Mag's primary actually has a range of 25. You can do a max amount of damage from there. His damage output is 40 with a direct hit. But as you can see, there's a little bubble around that allows for a bit of explosive damage. The range is not that big, but if you get someone within that range, it only does a little bit, about 20 damage instead of the full 40 if you directly hit. Next, let's talk about his right click, the 3 meters in the middle of your crosshair. Each of those 3 meters do a set amount of damage. So if you only have one ring, for example, that does 40 damage. The second ring does 65. And it's fully charged, it does a full 90 damage. Obviously, the goal with him is to utilize the full damage, which is the 90 damage. Unlike other abilities, Magneto can use this as soon as it's a charge, you can use it again. If you're in the heat of a battle and you need to do a bit more damage, and you only have 2 rings, for example, you still use the right click, let your thing recharge, and then you're right back into it. Now with recharging the rings, there are actually a few ways to do this. Obviously there is time, but there is also the use of Magneto's bubbles. When you put it on an ally, the amount of damage the bubble absorbs gives your right click faster charge. If the bubble is fully destroyed, usually fully recharge those rings. Obviously I can't really show it here with the bots, but it does charge at a much more accelerated rate depending on how much damage is absorbed from the bubbles. So a tip with him that I like to do is if I'm in the middle of a battle, I'm doing my damage, I do my combo, I'm trying to regain it, I either bubble myself or I bubble an ally, and depending on how much I absorb, it allows me to recharge my right click faster, allowing me to continue to do that damage even quicker. And with the perk of Mag getting that buff a few seasons ago, allowing him to use his bubble on himself and on someone else independently, it allows for that charge to be even quicker, and you can kind of min-max the ring charge depending on the situation. Now let's talk about Magneto's ultimate. There are 2 things to keep in mind with Mag's ult. It is the damage absorbed and the time it has on the ult. Depending on the circumstances, if the enemies are not shooting into your ult, for example, and you're going solely off of the time, you have to wait almost until it's fully charged for it to do the max amount of damage. Magneto's ult takes about 4 seconds to fully charge if you're solely going off of the timer alone. Under the timer bar, there is a damage bar. That shows how much damage you absorbed from the amount of projectiles that are being shot in the vicinity. Obviously with bots, it's only going to be a certain amount. The higher damage that is, the more damage you will do with the ult, instead of just the base time damage. With just the time alone, it is about 300 damage total, which can one-shot almost any lighter class. Some other things to keep in mind with the ult though, as you can see, there is a radius when you use the ult, the little circle around you. Whatever is shot in that circle is going to get absorbed. This can be changed depending on the height you're at. For example, the higher you go, the ring changes. you're not picking up any of the damage that is being shot from these two bots. So, in my opinion, when you pop the ult, either you want to go a little lower or you want to stay at the height that the ult went off. This allows you to get as much projectiles absorbed as possible and doesn't allow you to mess up anything that can get past it by the higher you go up. Another thing to keep in mind with this ult, it can be completely destroyed. And what I mean by that is, of course, you saw the damage meter at the bottom. If that damage meter is fully at 100 and goes past the 100, the ult will get completely destroyed. It'll just explode. While this is not the worst thing in some instances, it can be if you're trying to get a kill. For example, if Punisher is shooting your ult, he can charge it extremely fast and cause it to implode on itself. So this is why I say when you're looking at his ult, pay attention to the damage meter instead of the timer. You have 4 seconds for that ult to go off, and no matter what, as long as it doesn't implode, the ult will go off regardless. Just make sure that you're aiming at whoever you want to get hit by the ult. And one last thing to keep in mind, the explosion radius. This radius is relatively big. As you can see, I shot it about a little bit in front of them. It still did a lot of damage. Didn't kill them. The goal with his ult is to try to hit whoever you want to hit directly and not around them, near them, etc, etc. Direct hits are your best friend. That is the max amount of damage you will get with his ult if you can hit him dead on. If you are facing a Luna Snow, she pops her ult there and you try to counter that ult with your ult. If you do not kill her overshield when she pops her ult, you will not kill Luna. Before you pop your ult with Mag, you have to make sure that you kill her overshield, then pop your ult. In that time, the chaos will allow you to build up the ult, and if people are shooting within your vicinity, will allow you to kill Luna with no issues. Make sure if you're facing a Luna and she ults, damage her before you pop the ult. The blue shield that she has will go away after a certain amount of damage, then you can pop the ult. You will almost guarantee kill her with the ult as soon as her overshield is gone. Lastly, I want to talk about Mag's team up with Gambit, which allows him to get a new projectile. When you pop the projectile, you have the meter in the middle that counts as your time with it. In this time frame, you can dish out a lot of damage and at a good amount of range. Each sword ability does 40 damage, which if you're focusing on somebody, it can shred them in like 3 hits. On top of the immediate damage from the 40, it also has a bit of an explosion. That explosion damage does 25. In total, the team up does 65 damage, which if you are focusing on one, let's say one healer, for example, it can shred them no problem. On top of that, you also want to weave in your right clicks as well, because the ability allows you to do that. For example, in just that moment alone, 3 hits is all it needed to kill him. It's the same sort of premise with the regular primary. Just primary, right click primary will kill most people immediately. One last trick with the team up ability is it does give Mag a sort of animation cancel. Regularly, Mag has no animation cancel. You have to reload his abilities completely. There's no way to cancel it, like Strange, that sort of thing. But if you have the team up ability active, you're using it, you press right click, and while the ability is going on, your animation is quote unquote canceled because it's still going off while you're using the ability. So once the team up is done, you have a full reload ready to go and you can continue to dish out damage without a break in time. The way that I utilize his team up ability is usually after I finish using my primary, I'm out of ammo, I pop his C, I still can dish out damage while reloading the primary. So once I am done doing all this damage, I can have the primary ready to go. And that about does it for Mag. Compared to Strange, he doesn't have too much in his arsenal, at least combo-wise, etc, etc. But that doesn't mean that Mag is weak. I think Mag is the shield tank in this game. He is almost a must-pick no matter the circumstance. The only time that I would say don't use Mag is if you're going against a full brawl team, because in that moment, it might be a bit difficult to survive and dish out enough damage against a full brawler team. But besides that, I think Mag is almost a must play. Thank you so much for watching if you've gotten this far. I really appreciate it. If you can, please subscribe. As I said in my other video, I plan on doing more of these guides. Next will probably be Emma. She is the next best tank that I'm good at. But after that, I don't know. I might go off to healers because I have a bit more knowledge with healers that I main. But yeah, again, thank you so much. Please subscribe to the page if you enjoyed the guide. And let me know in the comments if there's any other things I missed. If there's something that you do with him that I didn't talk about here, I would love to know, because again, I am always willing to get better with these characters, and I will also make a short, I'll make a short talking about some new updates with these guys if I need to. So yeah, thank you so much, and see you around.